Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Blissful Literati. Our last discussion has provided us with a crash course in basic voice change rules. Today, we will learn how to change the verbs in imperative and interrogative sentences into their respective passive forms. But first, let us revise the basic elements in a sentence and remember what it takes to convert the verbs from their active forms to passive. And like always, I will advise you to keep your copy and pen ready to make notes as you go along. Rewind, pause, fast forward, do whatever you need to do to get the most out of this discussion. So let's have a sentence first. I take tea. Now, let us first see the passive voice of this particular sentence and then let us discuss how it is happening, the basic elements, and what we are doing. So the passive form of this sentence will be, yes, you have correctly guessed it, tea is taken by me. Now, let us discuss what is happening. Let us take, for example, the first sentence first. I take tea. A very basic sentence unit with three words, each word representing a particular area. The first word I represents the subject, which is a pronoun in this case standing for a noun. Then comes the verb take. And finally, we have the object T. So a basic sentence structure with a subject, verb, and an object. And if you remember this particular verb with an object, we call it a transitive verb. So the first sentence, we have subject, transitive verb, and object. And this makes us very clear that to convert the verb into its passive form, we need to have a transitive verb. Exceptions are there, but we will go to that later. So now let's see what is happening. First of all, the subject is converted into the object form. I becomes me. And the object is converted into subject. T, third person singular number, and a kind of a common noun is remaining T. Then the verb we have take, which is converted into the passive form. Verb in passive is taken. And to convert this, to convert the verb from its active form to passive form, we are bringing in a be verb in the form of is. Why is? Because is perfectly conjugated with the noun T. So again, remember, when we are changing a verb into its passive form, we need a be verb. The be verb should agree with the subject. In this case, it is third person singular, so is. Let us now move on to the current topic. Basic rules to convert the infinitives and imperatives. Now, imperatives, they are sentences which indicate command, request, advice, invitation. Okay, all these things. Now, when we are converting it, remember, first of all, the object should become subject. Okay, so remember that verbs of command, request, advice, invitation, and then comes the indirect object plus infinitive. If this is the setup, remember the indirect object that will become subject first, and then we will use the passive form of the main verb, and then the infinitive portion will come. Whatever be the infinitive portion, it will be as it is. Because again, I should remind you, you already know that after to, we do not change the form of the verb. So it remains as it is. The main verb that will be converted into its passive form. That is the verb of command, request, advice, invitation, or some other thing of the same sort. Apart from these things, there are also verbs of begging, ordering, recommending, urging, indirect object, and the infinitive. Again, the same setup. And in this case, we can use the same formula. We can use the same formula but with a twist. Let's first see what I mean with the first rule. Indirect object turns subject as object becomes subject and subject becomes object. So indirect object turns subject, then the passive form of main verb, and then the infinitive. So remember, this is very important. When we are converting imperatives or infinitives into passive form, we will not touch the infinitive form. Rather, we will convert the main verb, the verb of command, request, advice, those verbs into its passive form. And if there is advise, beg, order, recommend, urge, all these things, and the same setup, that is, after all this, the indirect object and the infinitive object, then what we do, we can do it in the same manner. The indirect object turns subject, passive form of the main verb, infinitive, and then object. Otherwise, we can also have all the verbs and then that should and then the passive infinitive form. The should here in this case is the binding factor, and then we are converting the infinitives into its passive form. And again, I know I just said that infinitives cannot be converted into passive, but we will soon see how we can do it with examples. And finally, remember, if there are some imperative instructions, okay, some instructions are there along with the object, we can again do the same thing, but this time bring be in, okay, or we may use let. So first of all, let, then the indirect object turn subject, then the be verb, and then the passive form of the verb. So we are using let. Basically, we are bringing in this concept of let be. Let, then the object turn subject, then be, exactly be verb, and then the passive form of the main verb. Or we can introduce a subject and then use the passive form of the verb and then the infinitive and object. All these. Now, I'm very much sure that all these formulas have got your minds confused, right? So let's forget all about the rules right now. Let's move on to some examples. And I'm very much sure that once you take a look at the examples, you will see that these conversions are not at all difficult, but as I say, among the easiest when we are converting voice of any given verb. So let's move on to the examples. She invited me to the movies. Now, look, she invited me to the movies, right? So here, if we again go to the basic form, remember what we need to convert voice. We need a subject, a verb, and the object. So let's see what the subject is. If we question the verb invited with who, we get the answer she. So she is the subject. Invited, obviously, we can see the past form, so that is the verb. And invited whom? That is me. So me is the object. So what we need to do, we need to convert this particular section, she invited me, into passive form. So if we convert me, the object, into subject, it becomes I. I, because it is in past tense, invited, we will use the past form of the be verb, that is I was invited to the movies. I was invited to the movies. By whom? By her. So I was invited by her to the movies. To the movies as it is will remain like that. Let's have a look. I was invited by her to the movies. Now you see, I have put by her within brackets. Why is that? Because you see, in this particular sentence and in sentences like this, we do not need always to provide the agent or whoever is doing something, because it is implied. I was invited. Somebody has invited me. So what? So, well, I cannot very well invite myself, right? Or some inanimate objects, they cannot invite me. So some person, that is why by her in this case is not needed. Let's have a look at another sentence. The teacher recommended us to complete the work. So again, let's have the basic things. You see, to complete is the infinitive portion. So we will keep that aside. We will not touch it, at least not now. Not now. If we are to do this thing as we did the previous sentence. So to complete the work, let us leave it aside. Let us forget all about it. What remains? The teacher recommended us. Now, if we consider carefully, recommended is the verb because this is the only word in the sentence which we are using in the second form, the verb's second form, that is a past form. So this indeed is the verb, the action verb, the teacher recommended. Now, if we question the verb, who recommended, we get the answer, the teacher. So the teacher is the subject, and the teacher recommended whom. If we ask, we get the answer, us. So we can say us is the object. So now we have a clear set of subject, verb, and object. What we need to do is to convert this set into passive voice. Now, if we remember, the teacher, third person singular number, will not be changed because it is a noun. Nouns are not changed. But in case of pronouns, the objective form will be converted into subjective form, and since us is first person plural, so we will make it we. We were recommended because we is plural, so we need plural be verb in the past tense. Were. We were recommended by the teacher to complete the work. Let's see. We were recommended by the teacher to complete the work, and as I said, by the teacher, we don't need it because obviously somebody has instructed us, whoever that is. But the main part is we were instructed, we were recommended to complete the work. That is the main important part. So that will get the limelight. We will not steal the thunder away from we were being recommended by using the teacher part, right? So we will remove that. Otherwise, we can also have the teacher recommended that the work should be completed. Now you see, both these sentences are in passive voice, right? In the first sentence, we were not touching the infinitive. In the second one, we are breaking the infinitive up by using that should. The teacher recommended as it is that the work should be completed. We are using be verb and then the passive form of the main verb completed. But what I want to draw your attention to, apart from these grammar technicalities, is that the meaning. When we are talking about a sentence like we were recommended to complete the work, the focus is on us. We were recommended, right? But in the second sentence, the teacher recommended that the work should be completed. In this sentence, the focus is on the teacher, not us. Who recommended that becomes important. So remember, when you are using passive voice in a given context to highlight, to draw the limelight on a particular area, maybe who is being ordered, who is being recommended, or who is doing what on the object part, on the subject part, uh, wherever you want to draw the limelight on, you have to opt for a particular sentence, particular structure. If you want that the object should be highlighted, you very well cannot use the second sentence, the teacher recommended, right? Because there is no mention of we or us. Similarly, if you want to put the focus on the teacher, you cannot use the first sentence because there is no teacher there in that sentence. It is all about us. We were recommended. So choose your passive voice as per your need when you are writing something in a given context. That is the ultimate motive of any grammar lesson. It is not that you will use grammar to convert one sentence per sentence like that. No. Grammar is a guideline as to how write the perfect English. And for that, we need to understand the context and then select whatever weapon we need from our arsenal. Let's have another example. Very short, stop it. And you see, this is an instruction. And if somebody instruct us to do something, we should use let. For example, let it be stopped. And note, we have brought in the be part from the previous sentence. The work should be completed. Let it be stopped. Once we use be verb as it is very easy to use the active verb in its passive form. Stopped. Let it be stopped. Let us have another example. Tell him to be here. Right? Tell him to be here. What is the verb? Tell, obviously. And who is the object? Him. Tell whom? Tell him. So him is the object. So we have a verb and an object, but there is no subject. Unlike the previous, the first two sentences, there is no subject. So what to do? Well, forget all about the subject. We have to do with whatever we have got. Make use of that. So tell him. Him becomes he in subject form. He. And now let us bring the should element. He should be told. He should be told. Tell is the verb. So we are using be verb before it and then the passive form. That's the third form. Tell, told, told. He should be told and then live as it is to be here. So the answer becomes he should be told to be here. We do not touch the infinitive part, right? To be here remains to be here. He should be told to be here. Let us have another example. Please keep off the grass. Now this is a very gentle request. Please keep off the grass. And if you remember, we can simply convert it by using the verb of request. That is, you are requested. We are bringing the subject in. See, basically what is not being said in the question sentence, please keep off the grass. What is not said is, please, you keep off the grass. So you are requested. How do we get requested? Because it is please. Please means request. So you are requested to keep off the grass as it is. So we are bringing in an infinitive. You, object turned subject, are, be verb, requested, passive form or the third form of the main verb, infinitive to, and then the object, keep off the grass. We can very well say let the grass be kept off if we want to do it with let. Let the grass be kept off, right? Otherwise, let's have another sentence. You see, as I said, everything is possible as long as you can explain yourself. When you're doing drama, when you're doing literature, everything is correct. All you need to do is to explain yourself. When we say you are requested to keep off the grass, it is basically you are requested. Maybe not that person or that person. Maybe I am not being requested. I can very well go on the grass or he also. But you cannot. You are requested. But when we say let the grass be kept off, that means nobody is allowed to go there. So this is the change in the meaning. And again, as I told you before, I am telling you now. Remember to use the particular passive form of the verb as per the context. Whether only you are requested or everybody. So as per that, we will change the orientation, the passive voice. Let us have another example, one final example for this set. Correct your answers. Now this can come as an advice. You are advised or maybe even ordered. You are ordered to correct your answer. We can do that. Or we can use another verb. For example, have your answers corrected. So have your answers corrected. Why this example is important? This example is very much important because it shows that in certain cases of imperative sentences, instructions or like that, we can even convert the voice without using be verb, right? This was up till now an absolute rule, right? That we have to use be verb. I didn't even say that we need to use by then the object. No, I didn't even put that inside a rule because again, that can be very well overlooked, omitted. Sometimes the object is not at all there. Sometimes we use a different kind of preposition. But be verb was absolutely necessary. But right now, what do we have here? Have your answers corrected. There is no be verb. So as I told you, grammar is very fluid. It is liquid. It takes the shape in whatever context protect you use it, as long as you are using it correctly. So yes, have your answers corrected, and we can make passive voice without using be verb. But again, the passive form of the verb is mandatory. After all, it is voice change, right? So correct, corrected. The third form is also corrected. Have your answers corrected. Now let us move on to the interrogative sentence conversion. You see, interrogative sentence conversion is basically very easy. What makes it difficult, apparently difficult, is that we forget that we need to keep the resulting sentence also into a question. Sometimes we confuse it with narration change. You see, when we are changing narration, if there is an interrogative sentence in the direct speech, when we convert it into indirect speech, we make it a statement, right? We do not keep the question as it is, we convert it into a statement. But in voice change, this is the thing that we tend to forget. In voice change, if there is an interrogative sentence, the answer should also be in interrogative only. So, what to do? There are three basic rules. First of all, change the sentence in the question, into assertive. Convert it mentally or write it down. Whatever you want, do it. Then you do what? Then you change the voice of the assertive sentence. The resulting sentence, what you have got, the assertive sentence, change its voice. Done. Once it is done, bring the auxiliary verbs, whatever verbs have you used at the beginning, and convert it into interrogative again. Simple as that. I know that I have laid down three basic points, but once you start doing it, you will see that it is an automatic process and you do not need to individually break the sentences into these three categories, three steps. You can easily, what we say in mathematical term, you can easily step jump. So, shall we see these rules in action? I think yes. So, let's move forward. Let's have some examples. First of all, this sentence, do you know him? Do you know him? Well, I know those of you who are really advanced, you know how to change voice. There are many, I am sure you can change the voice at one go. You do not need to convert it. But for the layman out there, let's follow the basic rules first. And the first rule says we need to convert it into a statement. So, do you know him becomes you know him. And then remember what I said, convert this statement, assertive sentence, into its passive voice. So, him becomes he, you remains you, and know becomes its passive form. So, he is known to you. He is known to you, right? Is be verb, known, third form of the verb, to you. Now, what did I say? Once you have converted it into a passive assertive sentence, convert it again into interrogative. Bring the auxiliary verb at the beginning. So it becomes, is he known to you? Is here is the auxiliary verb, is, right? So is comes at the beginning. Is he, then the verb known to you. As simple. Let us have another example. Do you like it? Again, we can say you like it, and then we can convert it into it is liked. And finally, we can say is it liked by you by converting the statement into interrogative again. Then, did you take tea? We can have this sentence and we can convert it into statement. You, remember the did, took tea because did is past. And then we can have tea was taken by you. So there's that, we can have it. And now our job is to convert it into interrogative sentence. The auxiliary verb will come at the beginning. Was tea taken by you? As it is. So now you know how we can use the basic rules to convert one interrogative sentence into its passive interrogative sentence. Now let's have the step jumps, right? Final set of examples before we call it a day. So first sentence, first example, why have you bought this? Why have you bought this? Now you see, WH word as it will remain like that. You don't have to look at it. So your question is, have you bought this? It will become, you have bought this. And then again, convert into the passive voice. And then again, convert it into interrogative sentence. And in the midst of all this, keep why where it is. So it will become, why has this been bought by you? Why has this been bought by you? So you have bought this. This has been bought by you. And put why at the beginning. Take the auxiliary verb at the beginning. So why has this been bought by you? Next example we have, where did you leave it? Again, leave where as it is. Leave it. So did you leave it? You left it? It was left by you? So it will become, where was it left by you? Simple as that. I'm telling you, nothing to worry about. Just keep it simple. Next, who will do the job? Who will do the job? Again, leave who as it is for now. We have to change this a bit, but afterwards. Will do the job. Okay, now who will do the job? Let's put one X here. And again, we convert it as the basic thing. But the only change will be who. Now this has a passive form. This has a passive form, as when who is taken to the object form, it becomes whom. WHOM. So it becomes, by whom will the job be done? Now, what I want you to pay attention in all this is that, remember, when you're converting the voice in an interrogative sentence, the resulting sentence is also interrogative. Always the verb should come before number one, and number two, it must always end with a question mark. The resulting statement, in short, should not be a statement at all. It should be a interrogative sentence, right? So remember this very important rule. When we change the voice of a verb in an interrogative sentence, the resulting sentence is also interrogative. And we need to do all what we need to do to make this happen. I hope by now you have understood how we change the voice of an interrogative sentence or an imperative sentence or infinitives into their respective passive forms. You can do it very well. I know, I'm very much confident about it. But in case you still have any doubts left, do reach us back. We are here to help you, and I'm sure we can always get back to you with all your answers. So till we meet again, bye bye.